consciously think about it. And when I'm going to instruct something, good or bad, it needs to be instructional instruction. What did they do properly on the fundamental side, or what did they do improperly, in order for them to learn to the fullest? And once they understand that, then you can almost leave them alone. Because then if you go back to it and you say, what did you do right, they should be able to let you know. And then understanding the catching position. The more that we as coaches can understand the catching position, the better we're going to be. I've seen a lot of catchers from youth level all the way up to the professional game. I've had to evaluate high school catchers. Scouts have asked me to go out there and evaluate catchers. High school coaches have asked me to go out and evaluate catchers, and it is an extremely hard position to evaluate because there's so many different techniques, there's so many different body types, there's so many different things that you're looking for, and it's what exactly are we looking for in a catcher? What is it that makes a great catcher? Obviously, when you're watching Major League Baseball, that's when you're going to see the best catchers. But if you look at those catchers, they're all different. They're all different sizes. They're all different stances. They're all different, techniques and ways to go about it. However, there are very, very similar traits throughout, which we'll definitely discuss. And those are the fundamentals of what we're looking at. What makes a catcher a great catcher? How are we able to understand the catching position? Understanding the catching position is by looking at the fundamentals. How sound are their basic fundamentals? And from there you can stem and grow and build your own repertoire as a catcher. But those basics need to be there. They need to be there. If there are any questions, by the way, please go ahead and stop me. I'll answer anything that you guys need. Just if you guys don't mind raising your hand, that'd be perfect. We're going to we'll jump right into the fundamentals and mechanics. Right away, the stance. Your stances are extremely important. And when you are instructing players and coaching your players, the first thing, especially at least on my end, I go to are their stances. Everything will stem from your stance. If they don't have an understanding and they're not comfortable within their stances, and there are two of them, then everything else that we do as catchers, receiving, blocking, throwing, fielding your position, anything like that, is going to be extremely difficult. Stances are extremely important. When we talk about a stance, we have a runner on stance, we have a nobody on stance, and we have a runner on stance. But those two stances are extremely important, and I would spend a lot of time just without a baseball, without anything, getting them into these stances. And now your players, once they understand it, can go home when they're watching TV, when they're reading a book, whatever they're doing, they can sit in these stances. Like Benny Akbayani, I don't know if that name rings a bell to you guys, he was a catcher back in the day. He would sit there and watch TV in stances for hours on end, just to condition the body, but it's important to understand the fundamentals of how to do that. The way that I teach, nobody on stance. Nobody's on, start of the game. I like to have the players put their feet about shoulder width apart with their heels and duck their feet out. From here, their knees, when they go to squat, will go over their feet. So their knees go this way. Right there. You want a nice, low, wide target with the lower half, as opposed to tiny in here or, kind of up here like this. Just make them duck the feet a little bit, and then put the knees right over the feet. You want to get nice and wide. From here, I'm going to stay nice and relaxed in the butt and the groin area, just like they're sitting down on a stool. Just nice and relaxed, nice and easy. Sometimes it's tough for players because they're not as flexible in their butts or their groins, and people who aren't very flexible, you're going to definitely see this is going to feel weird to them. They're not going to be able to get very low, or they're going to just be sitting up here like this. It's extremely important for them to be flexible in their lower half if they can be. Obviously that works with stretch and all that stuff. But basic fundamentals.
So, I have a question for you.
Yep.
Do I have to take pictures when you're demonstrating a certain stance, for instance?
Go right ahead. Go right ahead. So right in this position, glove hand. We want to get a nice wide open hand. We want to try to keep our thumb parallel to the ground, and we want it to be low. We want a nice low target always. Nice low target. This is where we want pitchers to throw to. Number one. Number two, we want to make sure that our catchers are working low to high rather than high to low. As soon as we go high to low, we're going to be taking pitches away. When we're working low to high, we're going to be able to work underneath baseballs, not only get pitches that are lower in the zone, but they're going to be able to stick balls a lot better working low to high. So low target, let that pitcher see that low target, working down in the zone, pounding knees, and then also working up and underneath baseballs will help it to stick, as opposed to taking balls away, low to high. We want to try to keep our left arm in close to a 90-degree bend. As soon as we get out too far here, balls will take us away, and we don't want to get too far in here, because then they're going to be hit. We want to try to get a nice 90-degree where when they are able to catch a baseball, it sticks, it sticks, it sticks. These gloves are super heavy for these kids, and when they get too far extended, their arms will be taken away. It's also, once your arms get extended away from your body, they're going to become very slow, very weak. So if pitchers aren't exactly where the catcher's glove is, they might not catch that baseball. It's going to be tough for them to catch that baseball to move over here quickly. It's just very, very slow, big, and heavy for those kids, especially at that age. Just making sure there's a good 90-degree bend.
How far are they back from the plate? Because it seems like I'm at 8, 9-year-olds, they're a little bit younger, it seems like they sit way back too far, but you don't want them to get beat by the bat too. So.
Right, very, very good question. You can push them up as close to the batter as you think is safe. I mean, obviously we don't want them right on top of the plate, but if the hitter's back foot is about right here, I could probably sit about right here, it'd be fine. He's not going to hit me, because that barrel's going to be flying right over the head. Once again, as long as they're not extending their arm out too much, if you're going to put them up a little closer, then they should be fine. They should be fine, definitely. Right arm goes behind. You can stick your thumb in the heel of the shoe. I would avoid grabbing onto the back of the cleat, just because if they roll back, you don't want them to be stepping on their finger. But as opposed to putting it all the way back behind, maybe just stick our thumb right in the back of there, in the back of the shoe. They should be okay. Try to keep them there. Keep that thumb in that shoe as long as you possibly can. When they're receiving, a lot of them are going to want to fly their right arm out. And once again, we're protecting our body for foul balls. We got our gear on, we're being protected. As soon as this comes out, a foul ball will nick that. I don't know if you guys saw.
To that end, I see some people teaching to keep the hand out. Why do they do that? Balance issue.
Right.
I'm not going to say that, but I've seen other coaches say, no, you want your hand out behind the mitt.
Right, excellent question. And when we jump into run-around two-strike approach,
that changes.
that's when people jump that hand out. Excellent question. But yeah, it's important to keep that sucker back behind there. For the spring training game, I don't know if you guys saw it, but the umpire was back behind the catcher right here, and I think he got crossed up, and the ball just nicked his finger, and I mean, it just blew up like a balloon, completely broke his hand, and it barely nicked him. And they actually had to bring in the third base umpire behind the pitcher's mound. I've never seen it before in a Major League game. It's pretty cool. But yeah, these are very, very delicate limbs on our body, so make sure they're protected. The next stance. Is everyone good on nobody on stance?
Can you show us what, like, so you're perfect, like, nobody on the stance, what would you be?
Right, yep, nobody on stance. Feet are docked, knees go over, low target right here.
And your heel is on the ground.
Heels on the ground. Heels on the ground. Shoulders square, knees square. Yep. Okay. We good with that? With nobody on? Okay, perfect. Going into runner on stance. feet are here with nobody on. Runner on stance. Now, I like my feet to now square off, toes pointed to the pitcher. I like to get them a little wider than my shoulders, just a tick. Nothing too crazy.
This is runner on stance?
Runner on or two-strike approach. Yep. I'm not sure if you guys have drop thirds yet.
End of the season, they do it.
What's that?
They don't do it at the beginning, but at the end of the season,
They'll let them do it? Okay. Well, yeah, either way, it's important just to get in that habit. Even if nobody's on and there's two strikes, jumping them up into the runner on two-strike approach to get in the habit of doing that. But yeah, we'll square feet off, toes pointed forward. From here, we're going to drop our butt back, like we're going to sit on a low bucket way back there. Not just right underneath us, way back there. So we're going to stick our butt back and down, and we're going to feel that chest kind of go over our knees. Right in here like this. We're going to feel a little pinch with our abs and our quad. Feel a little pinch there. As opposed to guys up here like this, or too low. We want to get that butt back and that chest forward. It's the most balanced that we're going to be in that stance. Plus, both feet are in the ground, so we have a stable foundation to work off of. From here, once again, low target, hand open, thumb parallel to the ground. The right arm now comes up behind the glove in a fist. Right here. Left arm stays 90 degrees like we would be in nobody on stance, so that we can move quickly, efficiently. And when that ball hits, we're able to stick that. As soon as we get too far here, we're going to be off balance. And if we get too far here, we're not going to be able to move properly. We're going to be getting too tight.
And then your heels are still on the ground.
Absolutely. Absolutely. As soon as you get up on your toes, if you're trying to catch, this is a very unstable position. And the way that you kind of teach kids how to feel that is just go up and just touch it. And they'll fall right over. If they're up on their toes, they're going to not be able to move properly on that side. They're on their heels. Yeah, that's a solid, extremely solid.
See them trying to butterfly their legs out if they're more comfortable on their toes.
Okay.
Right, that's what they're trying to do to build heat balance, Where I think the key is that they're getting their feet too wide if they can be on their toes. Where if they have their feet at the right width, then they can be on their heels.
Exactly.
And they also probably have pretty weak muscles up here at the top of the thigh too, which probably prevents them to get too low.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the strength is definitely a factor when we're teaching these players.
The knee protectors on the back, or the little pads or whatever, they're off that pad if they're in a two-strike position, right?
They should feel it just a little bit.
Okay.
I mean, if they want to sink into that pad, that's fine as long as their butt stays up. But yeah, I mean, they shouldn't really feel it. Maybe the top of it, but they shouldn't be. Yeah, they shouldn't be sunk all the way in.
So can you show us your perfect stance with
Sure.
runner on stance?
Sure. So runner on stance, butt would go back, chest would go a little forward, low target, elbows in tight right here. No side view.
Sure.
We'll go back to that and see what's good. Sweet.
Good. Extremely important that they understand both those stances because now everything is going to stem off of those stances. And the three things that we focus on off of those stances are receiving, blocking, and then throwing. We'll start with receiving. Any questions on stances? Are we good? Okay, perfect. We'll start with receiving, and 95% of the time, players behind the plate will be receiving. Okay? There are 4 categories of what we have to do as catchers: receiving, blocking, throwing, and then fielding your position. But receiving we do the majority of the time. It is the most important when I go out and evaluate catchers or look at catchers. If they don't have an understanding of how to receive, or they're just bad receivers, they're not going to move forward very quickly at all. When I'm teaching receiving, nobody on or runner on two-strike approach. It's extremely important for them to understand this glove moves, the body stays stable. The glove moves around the zone, the body stays stable. The body's not moving all over the place. Now, this is a little bit of a controversial topic with a lot of catching guys. Once again, if we watch Major League Baseball, you're not going to see any of those guys moving their body to receive a baseball, especially if it's a strike. Even at the youth age, the body is still, once they're down into their catcher's position, their body is the width of the strike zone. Their body's covering pretty much the whole entire plate. There's no reason, if the ball is on the block or if it's on the outer half, to have to move the body over so that we catch it in the middle of the chest. Teach them to move the glove around the zone and keep that body stable. Keep that body stable. They're going to move much quicker. Their head's not moving. Their eyes aren't moving. They're going to be able to receive the baseball much better and more consistently with that body and head being stable. Plus, the later on that they get, if we're moving our body, the umpire is going to think that's a ball, even if it is a strike. But by receiving it, just with the glove. I like to tell, as the kids, when they play Xbox or PlayStation, say, when you guys are playing that, do you guys move your thumbs around on the joystick, or are you guys moving the whole joystick around? You know, they're like, no, we're just moving our thumbs. A great drill to do with this is get them in their catcher's stance. From here, just take your hand, and you can go up, down, left, right, all over the zone, and you make them move their glove. Make them move their glove around, keeping their body steady. Then say, let's move our body around, and have them go all over the place, and they're exhausted. They have no idea what they're doing. They'll get a very, very good understanding. And every catcher that I've worked with that like to move their body, once we calm that body down, move this around, they say, my gosh, that's one of the most simplest fixes I've ever seen, but the most effective. They're like, oh, this is fantastic. So making sure they move that glove around is extremely important. Same thing with a runner on two-strike approach. Once they get up into here, it's extremely important, especially in this, to just be able to move the glove around. Right in here. As soon as they start moving the body, they're going to become exhausted. They're probably going to miss a lot of balls, moving the eyes, the head, the whole thing. So really, really focus on moving that glove. Technique when we're receiving. I've never been a big fan of saying we have to frame baseballs. It's either a strike or it's a ball. We need to be able to stick baseballs. If it is a strike, we have to keep it as a strike. If it's a ball, boom, it's a ball, just get it back. We don't need to take balls and move them back into the zone. That's just, once again, showing me as an umpire, telling me that you thought that was a ball too. So I'm not going to give you a call if you're trying to bring it back in. But we want to make sure that strikes are kept strikes. So sticking to baseball. And the most important thing about keeping strikes a strike are making sure that this arm doesn't get too far extended or too far in here. Making sure that when they receive, this elbow is bent or flexed a little bit, and they're able to withstand that blow into the glove and not have the glove move back or down or up. So making sure that they're in a good, strong position in that arm, but not all the way 90, maybe just a tick further than 90, maybe 100 degrees on that elbow receiving. That goes with pitches over here, pitches underneath, and pitches high. Making sure that that elbow doesn't get too far back or too far forward, because they will take pitches up. Low pitches, same thing. Trying to keep that thumb underneath, working up into the baseball is very, very good. Very, very good to do. A great drill for this is stand about 40 feet away. You can take baseballs if you're on a turf, or bouncy balls if you're on a harder surface, and bounce balls into them. And you can see where they're taking balls and moving them down, or if they're really starting to work up, you can short hop them where they're going to have to kind of go up and get that baseball, or you can long hop them where they sit back and stick it back here, but you can really get a good sense of where they are on the receiving realm by bouncing those suckers in there, as opposed to just hammering them. I mean, obviously we can hammer them with pitching machines and throwing them, but once you see a little bit of a bounce, you'll see where they are.